the hell is wrong with me? I ask this question with a feeling of guilt and shame. I would describe my childhood as vivid and stained. I am a second born of 4 siblings. My name is Grace Maureen Werimo. I am named after my mom's mom, as is the culture of, the Kikuyus, yeah? I would describe home as warlike, World War III. It was so bad. And I remember this one time when my parents were fighting, I don't know about what. And that was the time I came to know that I was not enough of a daughter to my dad. I was approximately 5, 6 years old, and I walked to the sitting room. My siblings were crying. And I walked up to my dad. My mom was holding her pillow, and her eyes were red, her face was red. It was a long fight. And I looked at my dad and I told him, you're not gonna hit my mom again. If you have to hit her, you have to go through me. Now, imagine a 6-year-old telling a dad that. And that was a movie statement. I had watched a movie the day before. And I was so scared that he was gonna beat me too, But I think he was shocked because that had never happened before. So he was just like, okay. And because he couldn't hit me, he said, you're just as stupid as her and her family. You see, you called Grace's Apollos, all stupid and foolish, should never end up to be anything. I held it in. I never cried. I never wanted to be called weak. People describe me as a person who has too much willpower, and I tend to believe them because looking back, I see the reason why. And the reason why I didn't cry, one of the reasons is that I held on to the belief that dads love their daughters irrespective, And so I was just like, Dad is probably having a difficult time showing me. So yeah, he loves me. And in the year 2011, we lost a cousin, and he was having a conversation with a relative. And I was not paying attention to that conversation because it was a grown-up conversation, manners, yeah? So one statement made me pay attention to him. He said, oh, me, I didn't want Grace as a child. Yeah? And my cousin said, why would you say that? Why you don't say that about your kids? And he laughed and said, she actually knows. I've always told her since she was a kid. And it's true. He always told that to me. And I thought the good grades, the good schools would help me win his love, but I failed. I started auditioning for his love. I watched wrestling with him. Stone Cold was one of my favorite wrestlers. I engaged in political conversations. We watched TPF with him because I love singing. And any other thing that would make him see me. That's when I realized that I'm different. I am not my sister. I am not that perfect daughter. I went to high school, and I didn't have friends to call my own. Actually, I was very angry. I didn't like interacting with people. I had social anxiety, which is something that people don't talk about, mental health-related issues. My mom found me 2 teachers who would counsel me, so my grades were still up, and that led me to go to campus to do the law degree in Kenyatta University. University. Well, you guys, probably some of you were having fun. It was just books, and maybe a few friends here and there, but they still didn't know my story, so I still used to keep so much to myself. I was that snob. People used to call me a snob, but they didn't understand that it's not easy for me to interact with people. And I fell in love. I fell in love with a man whom I thought would be the love of my life. I described him as the love of my life, and I thought we'd be living happily ever after. He was strikingly handsome, and with perfect dental formula, Colgate-like smile, and he was well built. Yeah, and I loved him. And he loved math and formulas and all that. So don't blame me, I just love intelligent people, Yes. We loved spending time with his friends. So we spent time with one of his friends, and he said in the midst of our conversation, "Hey, you're very beautiful." I think it was a statement to my then boyfriend, meaning that, yeah, you chose well, yeah, but it didn't go down well. And by the end of the day, I was asking him, "Hey, could we talk about this?" What I got were fists and blows to my face. And he held me down on the bed, and he started strangling me. And I looked on the left, and there was an empty bottle of soda. And I knew that this was the last day of my life. And I knew if I fight back, he's gonna hit me using that bottle, and probably I'm gonna end up dead. So I had to let it play out. I don't know how long it took, but it was the longest time of my life. And the moment he stopped, I ran to the other bedroom. And I sat down there, and I was crying. And you know what I saw? The picture of a little girl with a bright future reliving her mom's life. Now, you see, my mom had called me the day before the fight, and she had told me that my dad had tried to kill her, and that had told her, "Call your children and say the last words." And as I was on the floor, I thought to myself, no. I can never be my mom. It was a difficult time. I fell into depression, and the only thing I had was my sister. So what led me here? How did I find myself here? Rejection. You see, most fears of rejection stem from the desire of approval. Yet here I had failed at getting loved by my dad and getting loved by the love of my life. And I was failing terribly at it. So I packed my bags, and I went to stay with my sister for a few months. The journey to recovery started when I tried to source for a psychologist. I was at work, and everything was not working. I had lost interest in music. I had lost interest in poetry. And while I was at work, I took a break, and I called my sister, and I told her, "Jacqueline, I've thought of this, and I'm very sure I wanna end my life." And my sister looked at me, or rather, spoke back to me because it was over the phone. And she told me, "You see, Grace, I understand where you're coming from. I grew up with you, and I know Dad treated you differently. So I understand where you're coming from, but please don't end your life. Think about me, think about Mom, think about your younger siblings." She was right. All the good grades, the law school, all the achievements were for my dad, not for me. 24 years of my life, I'd never lived my own life. And it was my time, my story, my journey. So I sourced for a therapist my core year. Probably some of you know him. And I ensured that my anger and frustrations, I put them in productive action. So I wrote a poem, which is a bit sad, but please allow me to read it to you. I hear him speaking again. His whispers are next to my ear. He stays still in the dark. I cannot see him, but his presence is too strong. Paralysis engulfs me, and tears streamed down my face. Not this again. Not this again. Yes. You see, I have been here before. He holds my fragile heart in his hands. This time round, there's no going back, he says. I know it's a lie, but is it? Self-doubt, self-pity becomes my cup of tea. He knows. He knows how to get me. He knows what triggers my thoughts. No. I will not give in. But who will fight this battle for me? Me. Again. I am tired. I am tired of fighting. I am tired of looking for light. They say that I am strong, that I am a survivor. You're wrong. I'm not. I want to leave. Please let me go. Cut me loose from these chains. Stop him from talking. Drag him away. Burn his demons and save his soul. But is it even worth saving? Is it? Never mind that. Get me out of this room. Let me smile again. Let me tell the story of how I escaped death by a whisker. That was the first poem that I wrote when I fell into depression. That was the same year my mom said goodbye to her 26-year-old marriage. She was strong and I was happy for her. We were like, oh, now we are going to get out to know our parents in a more conducive environment, But that same year, we got a call from our dad. It was the year 2015. And he said he had denounced us as his children. Now, I tried to contact him. Maybe it was just anger, Let me just say I'm very compassionate. And he told me never to call him again. And I put my phone down, and I told myself I gotta get up and get myself well and ensure that our family is doing well. You see, intention is very important. You have to be happy on purpose. When you wake up in the morning, you have to decide, this day, how is it gonna go down? How will my experience be? You have to look at the positive side of things, you see? So I have learned to say no to my inner critic, because sometimes those voices will speak to you. And when I was writing this poem, right now as I'm reading it, I didn't even write it for my dad. The he represents all the voices that spoke in my head saying that I'm not enough, that I cannot be loved, that I am rejected, that the world will never, love me for who I am. That is what the poem represents. Those voices that are said through people, irrespective of whether they're your family or friends. So whenever that inner critic comes up, I look at the positive side of things. What do I like about myself? Let's start from sarcasm. I'm very sarcastic. 2, my curiosity to learn and also to get to know people. 3, I love my fashion sense. Let's just admit it. And my beautiful hair. Okay, it's temporary locks though. But we still love them. My mom, or my grandmother, the one that I'm called, I'm named after, may her soul rest in peace. She told me before she died, you have to learn how to forgive. Your father has done so much to my daughter, but I have forgiven him. What a woman of strength. I mean, how many of us could do that? And I have learned to forgive my dad. You see, love lives. Our parents are not heroes. They're not perfect. They make mistakes. They're just like me. And I have to admit that they did all that they could, and they made their mistakes, and they learned from that. And that is okay. So sometimes, love lives. I describe myself as a light. I'm that spark that escaped, that power that was fanned by different things to become a light. My sister has been my backbone. She's given me unconditional love. You see, in such situations, most siblings, probably some siblings, would not support you because they were loved much more than you. Or maybe you would be fighting because, hey, you were the little princess and I was the hated one. But no, it actually brought us closer. She teaches me one thing, that it's okay for people to tell you no. What you need is for you to establish your standards. If people cannot love you right, let them go. Let them go. Forgive them and let them go. So rejection is okay, and that is one thing that we'll never live without. Sometimes people will tell you, no, we are not going to accept you in this job because of blah, 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 blah. You know? And that is okay. So I have learned to live with the no, and all these experiences have helped me establish my standards. So whenever I create friendships, relationships, there is a standard that I have loved myself with, and if you cannot get to those standards, I will just walk away. So, would I be willing to bring my dad into my life after all this? We don't know about tomorrow, but the truth is, I am tired of holding on to the anger and on to the frustrations. I have forgiven him. If he wants to come back, well and good. If he does not, I am fine with that. I know I am wanted and I am loved.